like an iron door has come down between you and your manager, between the manager and the staff person.
Good morning, Trish. How are you?
Absolutely delighted to be here.
Wonderful. So for those that are just joining us, we have Trish from trishspringsteen.com, who mentor, speaker, coach, and author. Love that you've got that on your background. And again, I'm Dee from Halcyon HR. So today, Trish, we're talking about a whole lot of things, but specifically good feedback. And I think that is something that is so important for managers, regardless of what level, whether it's middle management, upper management, new managers, old managers. I think we can all improve on how we give feedback, and not just a generic feedback, but good feedback. So what would you like to share with us?
Well, as you said, in today's business, we've got a very important place with giving performance criteria and performance feedback. And a lot of it's to be, you want to get detailed information. You want your staff or even a fellow peer to be able to take that feedback and enhance what they're doing. But one of the things that I've discovered and I've found in my journey, in my own personal journey in businesses and in my journey with my business, that being able to give constructive feedback is a bit of a minefield, and not necessarily something that comes natural to managers or team leaders. They're really good about coming in and telling you what didn't work, but that's not necessarily the best way to give feedback to encourage improvement. You want the people that you're giving that feedback to want to have a willingness to listen and to take on board any constructive suggestions. So one of the things that I've seen is that, let me just give you a scenario, two little scenarios. So you're a manager and you've got a team person who has been working on a project for you. And that person on their side, they've put in a lot of effort. This is a big thing for them because this could be something that'll go onto their record, and it's going to, maybe come up later on for performance review, or maybe even come up for maybe an increase in pay. Maybe I'm going to get a promotion. So they've put in a lot of effort. They come in and they lay their project down in front of you, and you pick it up and you're having a look at it. And this particular manager goes, "Oh, you're late. You know what? This was due 2 days ago, and it's not in the order that we want. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that?" Well, can you imagine if you were that staff member, what has happened? A complete, like an iron door has come down between you and your manager, between the manager and the staff person. It doesn't matter if that person then says to the staff person, "Wow, but I do like your research." They're not going to hear anything else you've said because they've got this sudden block. You've started with a negative, and all they can think about is, well, there goes my promotion. I put hours and hours in this. They weren't even recognizing that. And do you think they're going to stay back and do another big project? Do you think they're going to give the same amount of effort? No. That manager has probably lost the full potential of their team member because they didn't give the feedback. And it's a normal reaction. People don't think about how you're supposed to give a feedback. So think about this different scenario. Same thing. Staff members done all this work. The project comes in. They put it across the desk. The manager picks it up and says, "Wow, thanks, John. I know, I've seen how many hours you've put into this. You've stayed back. You've put a lot of research into it. I really, really appreciate it. Let's see if we can work together to enhance just a few things. So when I take it to the board, the amount of work that you did will be noticed and we can get this project across. This needs to be fixed. We need to change a little bit there. It's a little bit too long. We need to shorten it. But I really do appreciate it. Let's sit down and work on it." Now, in which scenario do you think that team member is going to come back again? Yep, the second one. They're going to come back because you've acknowledged them. They're in an absolute receptive mood to receive the feedback. And that basically, in those two scenarios, is the difference between getting someone to come back in and having someone say, well, I'm not going to stay here. And maybe even leave, they'll leave and you'll lose a staff member because you haven't had that. What was the difference that they put in there? The difference is the format. Acknowledging, realizing that everybody does something good. Doesn't matter what it is. Even as in that scenario example, even if it was just coming in and staying late, or even if it wasn't, if it's a complete performance appraisal that you're doing, it could be that your staff member turns up, they get into work. So, hey, there's a positive to start. There may be things that they're not doing so well, but everybody has a positive. You approach them by acknowledging the positive parts that they're doing and then follow up with the things that you want them to change, whether in specific project, whether it's maybe when they do come in, maybe they're talking too much on the phone or they're not paying quite as much attention to detail as they could. Because you've acknowledged something that they're doing right, they are going to be receptive. So the positive is acknowledged. Then you come in with what's not working. And then to make the feedback absolutely perfect so that they will go away, you explain to them how they can fix what's not working. There's no good saying, I didn't like this, I didn't like that, this is terrible, without giving the person some idea, well, how can I enhance that? If they can go away of knowing, well, these things need to be worked on, and this is how some suggestions I've got to work them on, then they're going to go away, put those suggestions in place. Hopefully, we're not guaranteeing that, but we are giving them a guideline. And then if you finish up nicely, we'll say, well, again, with an acknowledgement, then that's a very positive, what I call a positive constructive feedback. The opposite to that first scenario was a critical feedback, which is not necessarily going to give any response that you want, the good response you want from your staff member. So that's sort of some of the things. And then if you finish up nicely, we'll say, well, again, with an acknowledgement, then that's a very positive, what I call a positive constructive feedback. So I think about with performance feedback.
And I think that's all of that's really good. And I think, though, a lot of managers will go really quickly like, oh, that's not what I wanted. And they're thinking about 20 million other things. And so it just comes out before even really processing, I guess, you know, what this person has given them. They're just saying exactly what's in front of them. They're going, yeah, okay, that's 2 days late. And that's not how it's meant to be. Instead of stopping, pausing, taking that 5-second breathe in, breathe out and go, okay, let's pause a second, identify that this person has clearly put in a lot of effort, clearly tried, and this is what they thought it was meant to be. If it's not how it was meant to be and you're saying that's the wrong layout, did you not give them the right instructions to start with? And that's a whole nother issue. Well, we're focusing on obviously feedback here, but if they don't have the right layout, did you not give them the right instructions to start with? If it's 2 days late, why didn't you follow up and ask them if they needed support when it was 1 day late instead of now suddenly you're surprised to get it? And there's a lot there to go into. But one thing that really stuck out for me, being in HR, I get this a lot, is, oh, I've told this person this so many times and now they've just checked out and they're disengaged. Of course they're disengaged. It's the way you've been delivering your feedback and all they're hearing is negative, negative, negative. So they're not going to feel the value. They're not going to feel the appreciation. And of course they're going to leave. It's the way you've been delivering your feedback and all they're hearing is negative, negative, negative. So they're not going to feel the value. They're not going to feel the appreciation. And of course they're going to leave. It's the way you've been delivering your feedback and all they're hearing is negative, negative. And being in HR, we know that the cost to hire generally can be more expensive than it is to retain a staff member that actually already has those skills. So this delivering feedback is actually one of those fundamental, it's a foundational skill that we all need to have to make sure that our teams are supported, that they are actually getting what they need from us as managers as well. So I absolutely love that. And side note to that, it's the people that have rejection sensitivity. Now, look, that's not something we need to go in and diagnose, but it's also being mindful that some of our staff might have rejection sensitivity, and for you to come in and just say, this is 2 days late and this is not how I wanted it. Meanwhile, they might have stayed up till all hours of the night trying to get this together for you, thinking that you're going to be so proud and happy about it. And you've just turned around and said that is really going to, cut them at the knees. So it is something we 100% have to be mindful of when we are communicating. So given that you've given us the structure, hey, thanks, I really appreciate your effort. This is the area that I'm concerned about, but hey, this is how we're going to fix it, is a great 3-step. It's 3 steps. I mean, to simplify it, isn't it? It's 3 steps. Yes. Hey, that was really good. This is what I did like. Thank you for your efforts, appreciation, acknowledgement, the area of concern, and then how we together collaboratively can get it to where the manager needs it to be. And it's really not that hard. So 3 steps, and you've saved a working relationship with that person, and keeps them engaged, keeps them thinking, yes, I'm a valuable member of this team. So I know you've got more. I know you've got so many more tips that we can go into. What is something else that you would like to share?
Okay. Just to wrap up with that feedback too, because to endorse what you're saying, because it is those managers who are so quick off the mark, and you're right, stop. I mean, just think to yourself, how much more effort is it going to be to get a new person? I have to train them. I'm going to have to train them. And this person, even though they may not be at the level that I want, has been here. They know the background. So a few seconds, and it's exactly as you say, just take that deep breath and stop and think. When we react so much. But one of the things that I talk to people about, and in this particular case and in others, is that the only person that has absolute control over you and your attitude and how you react to things is you. So when you take that deep breath and you do a positive, constructive feedback in those 3 steps, you are giving a very positive reaction. The person that's receiving that, again, how they react is up to them. When they receive a positive feedback like that, their reaction is going to be more positive. You control it. You react with an immediate knee-jerk, well, freaking hell, why didn't you do this the way I wanted you to do it? You are encouraging the negative knee-jerk reaction from the other person. So it's one of the things I have always thought to myself, stop, think, because if I want to have a nice reaction, I need to control how I react, because I can only control mine. I can't control theirs. But if I can control mine to be on a positive, then I'm giving it about, 90% chance I'm going to get a positive back. So that is one thing to be really aware. And it is 3 steps. And if we're talking performance appraisal, you write it down. And then maybe you follow it up with, hey, how are things going? These are things we worked on. Have you implemented those? Are you running into some more issues? It's a follow-up feedback, so that you're not just giving the feedback and then letting them go. You're coming back and showing, that you're really paying some attention, and you want to see if they've really actually been able to continue. That reinforces the feedback that you've given. I'm going to go on to instructions, because you mentioned instructions, and wow, I think all of us have been on the wrong end of bad instructions. And the problems with instructions, it comes down to communication. And whenever I talk to any of my organizations, the top 2-3 issues that they have, they say, oh, communication is a big top thing. Then when it comes time for their training dollars, communication goes down the bottom, which is a big problem if they're identifying it as a big problem, but they're not doing anything about it. And one of the big things of communication is being able to give instructions. If you give poor instructions, not only does it come to being able to have to give the feedback, and we'd rather have really, really, really everything positive feedback. is that you need to be able to give good instructions, is the communication. If you give bad instructions, just think about it. You've lost productivity because you've got to go back and redefine their instructions, redefine where we're going. You've lost probably time, the time it's taken to go back and say, excuse me, but I didn't want it now. I wanted it later, or I want it, now, not later. And you've lost money because if instructions are around something that's time poor and needs to be done, and your instructions are not giving that clarity, you've lost money because you could have lost it, and you could even lose credibility. You could lose clients over that. If you give poor instructions, not only does it come to being able to have to give the feedback, and we'd rather have really. So one of the important things that I say when you're giving instructions is to remember that don't assume. We often assume that we're all starting on the same level playing field. We assume that the person we're giving instructions to is starting from the same information base that we are. And probably 80% of the time, that's a bad assumption. We know what we're talking about, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the person we're giving the instructions to has the same information background, has the same instructions, clarity background, expertise background. So you need to start by asking a few clarifying questions, just a few clarifying questions, to make sure that you're starting at the same playing field, same level playing field. Then when you've given the instructions, a couple of little questions saying, okay, get them to feed back to you. So these instructions, are we clear on where we're going? What are you clear on what the time is? Let me know, feed it back to me, what I've given you, just to clarify. And have you got any questions in that respect? So don't assume that they all know the same as you. Don't assume that they come from the same background. Let's face it, people, if you say to someone, oh, I'd like to have that report after lunch. Well, lunch could be anywhere from 11 o'clock to 3 o'clock.
Yes.
So you need to define my lunch, your lunch, what time frame. So being specific with your instructions, instead of just saying after lunch, give a time frame with that. I need it back in an hour. I need it back in 2 hours. I need it back at 2 o'clock. Is that going to work for you? Or when are you going to lunch? Some clarifying questions and being more specific rather than, well, in general, it's going to save you time. It's going to save you productivity. It's going to save you money and credibility. And it leads to a much happier organization where everybody's going in the same direction and not breaking apart, because there's nothing worse than that causes dissension in a team than poorly given instructions. And that comes back from the feedback, because you've given instruction to one person who's seen it from this way and they think they've done a great job, when in fact your instructions were not probably clear. And the other aspect is for all staff to remember, it's okay to clarify.
Yes.
Don't sit there. There's nothing wrong with asking your manager, say, hey, look, this is how I understand it. Or when you've said after lunch, what time do you mean? So as I said, not everybody gives clear instructions. So from both sides, if you get instructions that you're not sure about, clarify. It may save your job. It's definitely going to save harmony. Yes. It's probably going to save productivity, time, money, and credibility. And you're going to look really great for your manager and team leader, because you're saving any issues for them as well. So it's a two-way street.
Communication is always a two-way street in that regard. But also too, and I think you just nailed it, that after lunch is very ambiguous. I mean, after lunch could be between now and closing time. It could be, 2 minutes to 5. And I know for our neurodiverse people, we need actually stricter guidelines. You want something at 12, I need to know it's at 12, not some open-ended or very gray area instruction, very strict, like step 1, step 2, step 3, so that they can play within those confines. So I absolutely having very clear linear communication, but equally too, and you mentioned it before, asking those clarifying questions. I know there's a lot of managers out there that get quite frustrated when they get questions come back to them going, thanks so much for the instructions. I just need to clarify that this is what you meant. And then they get that frustrated, like, I've already told you. No. If they're asking questions, I mean, I love questions. I love it when people ask questions. I don't care if I have to say it 40 different ways. It means that you at least care enough about what the task is I've given you to come and ask me questions to make sure that you can achieve that. So if people, and this is just my tip, if people are asking you questions, you're a manager and they're asking you questions, absolutely appreciate that they're asking questions. If you have to say it 20 different ways, say it 20 different ways, but at least they care enough to ask you those questions to clarify what it is that you actually wanted from them, because that shows that they're still invested. If they're not asking questions, that's when I actually get worried. It's because, do you really understand what I want from you? And are you actually still engaged in this task, in this conversation, in this company? And if you're not asking questions, and I'm getting worried.
Yeah. And if they ask questions and you're getting a lot of questions, well, a little tip to the manager may be, why are they asking questions? Maybe I need to think about, how am I giving the instructions? Absolutely. Am I actually being clear from my end? And it doesn't hurt to take a little step back and think, okay, what did I say? Now, if you've said it clearly, that's okay. That means they're clarifying. That's not a problem. But if when you step back and you think, well, you know what, maybe I wasn't quite so clear, that's a learning exercise. And that's positive feedback from your staff member, really, if we're going to look at that. It's a learning exercise for thinking, okay, maybe I need to tighten up how I'm asking and what my communication is.
And equally too, even though you're a manager, you can actually ask your staff member, how do you like your feedback? What is your communication style? So for myself, for example, if we're talking about disc profiling, and not that we're getting into that today, but the disc profile. So I'm a DC. So awesome. I know what I am, and I can communicate that to people that might not know. And if they know what they are, they could be the polar opposite. So I go, okay, I know that I have to be mindful of what their communication style is. It creates a nice playing field for everyone when you understand where that person is coming from, what their communication styles are like. So I'm a very direct person, for example. I like cut to the chase. Let's get in and get it done. Whereas other people need all of the prelude, effectively.
They need the background, they need the story, they need to know where we're starting, and that's okay.
All of that stuff. Exactly right. It's absolutely okay. But as a manager, if you understand that that's what they need in order to do that task, that job, plus the instructions, so not just go and do this, they need to understand the why, the how, everything else, the backstory, like you said, to it. Then if you understand that that's what they need, or they've told you that, fabulous. Yeah. Take that 5 minutes out of your day, give them what they need, they go and do that, they come back and it's perfectly done. And it's 5 minutes instead of, as you said before, the time to sit down and redo it or provide clearer instructions, the effort and the money it takes to rework whatever needed to be done. You're better off taking that 5 minutes out of your day to get it right the first time, have that clear communication, make sure that they understand what you're saying, versus sitting there and giving them some off the hand instruction, go give me this after lunch, and off you go. No more questions, goodbye. And then you sit there after lunch going, well, I expected this at 2 o'clock and they're expecting to have till 5 o'clock to give it to you. So it definitely makes sense to make sure that communication is that two-way channel of making sure that person understands and you understand that exact messaging. So yeah, absolutely agree with you on that topic.
It doesn't take too long at all. And in the scheme of things, if you sat down and analysed the time that and productivity and the money and the credibility that was wasted,
yeah,
an extra few minutes saves a lot.
And in the long run, absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. The only other thing I've got is I talk about sometimes is what I call my 60 seconds of insane courage. And this sort of loops in a little bit with performance feedback and probably instructions as well. But also loops in with imposter syndrome. I'm not going to go into that because that's another whole topic. But that impacts on giving instructions. It impacts on when you get to, as a staff member, when you've been given something to do, to be like a project and things like that. And if you're a little bit nervous, new, unsure, had some bad feedback, bad instructions, it can play on your mindset. And that can play on the fact, well, I'm not sure I can do this project. I'm not sure I can and step up and do that. Who am I to do that? And on the other end, if you're a team leader, manager going up, it can, if you've been having some issues and you've had some bad responses from staff, it can start to play on your mindset as to say, well, I'm obviously not a good team leader. I don't know why I'm here. I don't see why I should be doing this. I can't understand it. And that's the mindset, and your negative mindset. And remember I mentioned about attitude. Well, that ties into negative mindset. And it's amazing how much that can impact on your work situation. So if you've got that mindset in there, it's going to give you a basis from negativity, a basis from, well, I'm not going to try. I'm not going to put myself up for promotion. I'm not going to put myself up for extra projects, which will look good on my resume, because I know that if I do that, it's not going to work anyway. Mm-hmm. So what you've done is pop yourself into a negativity. And one of the things I say when you do that is my 60 seconds of insane courage. It's 20 seconds when you've been faced with something like that to acknowledge the fact, okay, it didn't work last time. I know I'm not really good at this, and I've got all that negativity. It's 20 seconds to acknowledge that this is a negative voice. Doesn't necessarily, and then go into 20 seconds where you say from the positive, and you twist it and you think, well, okay, maybe it didn't quite work last time, but I've learned. I got good feedback. I know a bit more about what I'm doing. And yes, I can do this. And hey, if I don't even try, I'm never going to know. So you change it and you acknowledge the 20 seconds of positivity. And then it's 20 seconds to smile and say, thank you for giving me the opportunity. Ask a few more questions, make sure you're all clear, and go away and do your project. You approach it within that particular order. You're giving yourself a new positive mindset to build on. And as you build on that, your foundation for your workplace, for your career, for expanding where you're going, is going to be built on a solid foundation of confidence, of knowing that, hey, I've done it, I can do it again. I'm learning each time, and each step's a learning. So whenever you're faced with a opportunity, which you immediately start to step back from because, hey, I'm not too sure, think about a 60 seconds of insane courage. Think about 20 seconds to say, okay, I'm going to listen to it. Nope, that's all the negativity. Acknowledge that, because you can't fix something unless you acknowledge it. So acknowledge that you've got some negativity. Then 20 seconds to turn that into positive. Think about your confidence. Think about how well you did last time. Think about what you've learned. And think about the fact that if you never try, you never know. And then 20 seconds to say, yes, I'll take that opportunity. And it's the same if you're going for a new job, for a new promotion. We all know, and it's been said, that females and males approach things differently. And females are really great with that negativity, because unless they can do all 10 of the things required, they'll never apply for the job, because I think they've got to be perfect. Where males might be able to do 6 things and they'll say, I'll wing the next 4, and they'll go for it. So, hey, ladies, people, even in general, if there's something that's stopping you from applying for a new job or promotion and you've looked through it, go for it. You never know whether you're going to get it, and nothing's ever going to be perfect. I hate to tell these perfect people who like to be perfect, but perfection never happens.
Yeah.
Never happens.
Yeah.
So, hey, take a deep breath, 60 seconds of insane courage, and step into doing a new project. Put your hand up for things. Look at how you can increase where you're going. As a manager, as a leader, look at how you can expand your team, how you can work more on team demographics and on the positive performance feedback, on the instructions. So when that negativity comes in, think about my 60 seconds of insane courage.
Absolutely love that. And I think we can use that just about anywhere. It's just jobs. It could be, having that opportunity to go do public speaking and step on stage. It could be anything, even in personal lives that, I don't know if I can really do that, climb that mountain, go jump out of a plane, anything. That's 60 seconds of courage.
How many opportunities do we miss? How much do we lessen our potential to be who we can when we let that negativity dictate? And that's why I love my 60 seconds, because I acknowledge that, I'm being negative, and then I change it, and then I go and do it. And it's amazing.
I think that's going to be probably my favorite takeaway from today. But Trish, thank you so much for joining us. If someone wanted to reach out, how could they reach out to you, and what could you do to help them?
Okay. Yep. Look, you can see my website there. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm on my LinkedIn, and just look for Trish Springsteen. Actually, Family, you might notice that I do have purple hair. It's very easy to find me. I do have an offer that I'll get you to put up, and it's a special for 1 hour planning session with me. Usually my sessions are $300. This is only $77 for anybody who is watching, who wants to maybe delve a bit deeper into anything that I've said. I'll give you the link will be there.
We'll make sure that link is posted, and we'll make sure Trish's details are also readily available. But I think that's an opportunity that everyone should jump on, because I mean, we've had, in a short period of time today, we've covered so much. There's been lots of useful gems of information, from, you know, the good feedback, 60 seconds, understanding, I guess, how to have a two-way conversation, ask for clarifying questions if we need to, having the confidence to ask those clarifying questions. You're not stupid for needing a bit more information if the person hasn't given you enough. So I think all of that are foundational skills that managers need to have. And as managers, I know sometimes we sit there and go, oh, can I really do this? So our 60 seconds of courage will come into play. Can I really have this conversation with this person when you know that it might be a really challenging one? To take that 60 seconds to readjust and ground yourself and go, yep, this is scary. I can do this because it's just communication. Let's get in there and get it done. This is our job. We can do this. Give yourself that pep talk or whatever. Smile your way through it. But absolutely, I think it'll be fabulous. So fabulous. Well, thank you so much. I look forward to following up and seeing how everyone's progress goes after they've done your meeting. Their meeting with you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely, my delight. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
Wonderful.